Show me your fucking face. Where's your
So
face?
just to let everybody know, if I keep this part in, I've deliberately kept my camera off for a fairly, I feel like a fairly obvious reason, because I want Big Josh Boy to see. And what's actually funny is he guessed the exact opposite. He thought I went bald and just had a huge beard, and I just shaved off my beard and kept the mustache like I used to.
Where is
Here's
it?
the thing, dude. I have to ask you a question because I've heard this. I thought this after I did it, and I've heard it from multiple people. Like my roommate the other day, he walked past my office and he was looking in, and he squinted, and he knocked on the window. He's like, "Take off your hat," and I took off my hat. Yeah, I took off my hat, and he was like,
"It's like something's different."
Yeah, he was like, "Did you get a haircut? What's different? Your face looks smaller." And I was like, I know, dude. It's weird.
I like how I never knew how distinguished your chin was.
Yeah, that was the thing is the beard made my chin look the bigger beard, which granted I've only been growing it for not less than a year. I've only had it for less than a year, but the big beard made my chin look so much larger. It was some crimson chin shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But now, nope.
Wow, look at that! Look at that sexy face. Damn, I do miss it a little bit though. What made you shave?
Know.
What made you shave?
It was literally just one day. I was like, I can't remember what my face looks like. Plus, dude, dude. I hate just getting stray hairs in my mouth. Yeah. And I really hated that on the sides it was getting too puffy. And Chase has pointed out to me, he's like, bro, you just get a beard trim or whatever. You could trim it. And I was well, I fucked up because I was just you know what? I'm just going to shave it all off. And by the time I realized I fucked up, I had already done one clean swipe. And I was like,
you were like, I've gone too far.
Yeah, I already did it.
Oh, man.
And once I shaved all this off, I had kept my mustache, but hadn't realized that it went down to here.
Yeah.
When I didn't push my mustache off to the side, it was here. So I had to trim up my mustache.
You never trim. That fucking blows my mind. Because even if I always have somewhat of a beard, but I always take a thing to trim just right here so that any of that excess. Right now, I still have to do it. You can see it's going over my lips.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of it getting in your mouth. And stuff.
God, I hate it so much. It's one of the biggest reasons why I don't grow my beard out is just because of the mustache right here. Because they always go on my nose and they go on my mouth, and I'm always it's too much.
Yeah, it can be kind of annoying. I hate the going in the nose, but when it drapes over your mouth, it's not too bad. The thing I preferred to have it a longer mustache because I felt it accentuated the fullness of the beard. If I just trimmed down the mustache, it just wouldn't look coherent. You know what I mean? So I had to do it.
Maybe
just had to trim down the mustache a little bit. But yeah, just shave the beard down a bit, and now my face itches so fucking much. It's absurd. I hate it. I despise how much I'm pretty sure I've rubbed the bottom of my fucking jaw raw. It's insane.
Oh, the struggle. It'll be gone in a few days though. It'll be back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, it's already started to grow out a little bit. So granted, I'll still have to wait a little while for the full thing to grow back. But I'm feeling good. You know what's weird though is I had the full beard and everything. I was all good. Mm-hmm. Everything was good. Mm-hmm. And now the day I shaved it off, my wisdom tooth started to come in. And it's really being a bitch, dude.
Uh-oh.
It's not feeling great. And I was like, was my beard the linchpin? Was it
I don't know.
Is this correlation doesn't equal causation? What's up? The two happened at the same time.
You done fucked up.
Yeah.
Your body was spending all that time growing that beard. It forgot to grow the wisdom teeth. And it was all right, we'll focus on the hair. And you cut it off and the body was like, well, fuck you then. How about this?
You got to put all that energy somewhere.
Yeah. You got to put it somewhere else.
Or my body really loved the beard. And the second I did it, it was out of spite. It was just all right, bitch, have fun chewing. Do you have your wisdom teeth?
No, I got my teeth.
I got my
teeth pulled out. out.
Oh, really?
I did I got put under anesthesia. I said some weird shit to my mom It was a whole good time.
Okay, so you had the weird thing. I've heard that not everybody has like the weird like lethargy of coming out of anesthesia.
Yeah, I don't remember like much of it, but I was just in the car and I was just like real drugged up. And I remember talking to my mom about something, and she's like, "Josh, you gotta chill. Like, you gotta stop talking. You gotta stop doing."
Shut the fuck up.
And I was like, "Mom, I'm fine." And I don't know why, but I was like, "I do this kind of shit all the time." I was like, "I do drugs." And she's like, "What do you do? You don't do drugs. What do you do?" And I was like, "All of them."
You're like, "I did LSD just the other day. I fought a bear in my dreams."
It was a weird time, but yeah, it was a hell of a drug. But no, I've had my wisdom teeth pulled out. I have a abnormally small mouth for some reason with how much like teeth I had. So as a kid, I had like 6 or 8 teeth pulled out, and then I got my wisdom teeth pulled out too.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
I think we're seriously the same person. I'm not even joking. I had the same issue where my teeth were growing in under each other.
Yeah.
So they had to remove several teeth.
Yep.
And now, like, that's why I have room in my mouth for my wisdom teeth. And I gotta be honest, I don't want to fuck around with like dry sockets. I don't want to do any of that. Everybody talks about how much getting their wisdom teeth removed eats fat dick. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah. I mean,
I'll just let them grow in.
I mean, I got super lucky.
I don't want to go to the dentist.
Yeah. Well, you should go to the dentist.
I'm an adult male that's like, I already, like, I haven't gone to the dentist in like 6 years.
Oh my
I know
God.
my mouth is fucked up.
I can't. I don't know how people like you exist. I have to go to the dentist because I'm
just afraid of the dentist at this point.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you spent 6 years of fucking away.
Yeah, they're going to be like, this is going to be like 12 hours in this chair and you're going to owe us $1,600. And I'll be like, no. So that's why I don't want to do that.
No, fuck that. But I did get lucky with my wisdom teeth because I was like, you don't know what you're going to get. Some people get really affected by it and they're like, this is the worst. I'm in so much pain. Like everything. Like for me, like they gave you pain medication and I didn't even need it. I was just like, I feel kind of like uncomfortable, but like I was fine. So I got really lucky, which was nice.
Yeah, the same thing happened when I got my appendix removed. Is they gave me a bunch of oxys and they actually gave me headaches that like I was like, I can survive this pain, but I can't fall asleep because of the headaches. So I just stopped taking.
Yeah. The same, like something similar. It wasn't the headache, but like my wife would try to take when she tore her ACL, she was on like pain medication after the surgery. And she would take, I don't remember if it was Oxycontin, but it was something. It would give her hives. Like she literally would just like break out. And she was like, I can't take this medication. So
yeah, was she like allergic to it?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. She just like did not have a good reaction. And she was like, I guess I'll just deal with the pain. But fucking trooper.
I mean, dude, I fucking sat there for like months with like a ruptured intestine, like, or whatever it was. Like, yeah, it was getting my appendix removed. Like, it was pretty fucked up. So they were, I loved like leaving, and the guy was like, I don't even understand how you were like
you should be dead.
Like, you were, yeah, no joke. He was like, most people would be keeled over in pain. And I was like, I honestly, people are like, oh, he has a high pain tolerance. I'm like, no, it didn't hurt as much as you're saying it should have hurt. Like, I really don't understand. Like, he's like, oh yeah. And maybe everybody's just a bunch of baby backs. Okay. Maybe we got a bunch of baby back bitches because it was not that bad. Mm-hmm. Like the worst part was when I would Morgan would come lay on me on the couch and I'd be like, you gotta, I'd sit there for a little bit and then I'd be like, you gotta get off. Like it hurts too much. Yeah, and then like I basically just did that for like months, and one day she was finally just like, okay, you just need to get this checked out or something, because like I guess if you have a consistent pain for months, it's probably not good.
Probably something you need to get checked out.
And then I go to my doctor and my doctor's like, it might be a pulled muscle or your appendix is fucked up. And Morgan, we get to the car and she was like, can't believe it, you got appendicitis. And I was like, what? And she's like, you don't do anything. How would you pull a muscle? Yeah. It's impossible. And I was like,
damn, okay. Fucking roasted.
Yeah, I was like, that was mean, but okay.
Like, bitch, I'm in pain. What are you doing to me right now? Why you gotta make it mentally now?
Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are bringing you a solitary one news story before, of course, hopping in to News Cram, God bless the crowd, and answering your listener questions. Of course, before we get into that, I have to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average Josh Boys. How you doing today, big Josh Boy?
I'm doing well. It's a little earlier, which is nice.
Yeah.
I got things to do. So gracious Vaughn letting us do it early today. But I'm ready to get into it. I'm excited to talk
Honestly,
about some
do you ever
games.
feel weird that we record so late in the day? Like, I've never thought about it. Like, we record at 3 my time, so that's got to be like 5 or 6 yours.
Yeah, it's 5 my time. It's not bad. It is weird because having the recording in like the kind of mid end of the day means like there's not much I can do early on, right?
Exactly.
So it's like it's a little bit of like, this is my day, because I can't do anything that's too long at the front half of the day, and then I can't do anything really at night, because by the time we're done it's like 7 or 7:30. So I'm like, but it's been fine. I mean, it's Sunday fun day. Yeah, I don't need to do nothing.
Honestly, though, I haven't I just, because you asked me about this, I thought about it and I was like, I don't even know why we record at 3. Like, I have no idea. Like, I think we just, when we moved our record date, we were recording at like 3 or whatever because I was working.
Yeah.
And
we just
then we just got like stagnant. We got stuck in it. And now we don't know why we do it.
I don't know.
I don't know. We can change it. If it would be better for you, we could change it. Cause fuck, dude, I get the doc ready and then I like sit around, I watch anime and I like just do random shit because I have the same thing. I'm like, can't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like last week, luckily I got up, I went to bed early because I was just feeling pretty tired. So I woke up early and then I was like, fucking mow the lawn, I guess. Like, why not? And so just got some shit done, but yeah. It's some weird stuff. All right. Before we get into what we've been playing outside of our weird miscellaneous conversations, let's talk about our housekeeping. Of course, please check out our developer interview going live this Wednesday, which will be Wednesday, I believe, the 8th of September. Mm-hmm. This one is with Mike Burnett, the CEO and artist of Shockwork Games, which is responsible for a game called Nadir.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that's a cool name.
If you have good memory, which you probably don't, and I probably wouldn't either, because I even like when I talked to the guy afterwards, he's like, where did you find us? And I was like, oh, I just found like searching through games, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, actually, I think we talked about this, and it was a failed Kickstarter game that we talked about a while back. And it's basically it's kind of like a mix up of like Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon in a way, more Darkest Dungeon from like the art style, like the aesthetic, but
I can see it.
It's really cool because it's very much like a Slay the Spire, but the idea is you have this team of like very JRPG of like 3 party members who represent different sins, like canonically. And so the way that your combat phases and all of these, actual fights work is you're only fighting one person at any time, but it's always like a boss battle. So it's like continuous boss battle type of these just giant demons that you're facing. I don't know. It seems really cool.
Yeah, I really, really like the art style. It vaguely reminds me of an artist on Twitter called Cram, who I very, very much love. I love their art. It's so cool. Like, however much I'm not a fan of Neon Genesis Evangelion, which like it's really just because I feel like I haven't given it the best shake. The massive long, like the gigantic pauses for cicadas to just sit there being like doing whatever. It was like, dude, this happens far too long. Like every episode, there's like a 3 or 4 minute stretch of this bullshit. Like, stop. It's kind of like a pregnant or awkward pause, but it would just come in the middle of sentences that had no reason for it sometimes. And I'd be like, can you fucking not? Like, but now that they're the new movies, I want to check it out. Whatever. It really doesn't matter. I really just wanted to say that, like, I love Crom's art. And if you do, anybody listening, check this game out. Nadir. It actually looks very, very cool. Yeah. Granted, it's a card game, so it's Big Josh Boy's territory.
That's true.
It's what he loves. It's what he gets up for in the morning.
I don't know.
He looks over at his wife. He just pushes her away, grabs that Nintendo Switch, and he's like, I love you. She just kisses it because you can play Slay the Spire.
Yeah,
I told her
to get a bikini that just has little card pasties on it.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, she's got that like, here's the thing. I think you just need to go full bore, you know?
Oh, yeah?
I think you need to go full bore into card games. You need to ask your wife to get a Dark Magician Girl outfit. Like, I mean, really, I feel like that would benefit everybody. She would get a cool outfit. You would get some sexy cosplay time. Like, it's good for everyone, you know?
I'm into it. We'll see.
Just saying.
Yeah,
just saying.
I'll think about it.
It's a good thing to think about.
Anyway.
Also, check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring. Head over to YouTube, type in IndiePod, subscribe, like a couple of the videos, check them out. You can watch these. You can check out the clips. I'm no longer going to be posting the clips the same day as the actual episode. Instead, I'm going to be like spacing it out a bit to try to get a little bit like get that double hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Please leave us reviews on any sort of site in which you could do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out so much. Their algorithm can allow us to basically pop up in a lot of people's feeds that we wouldn't have before. So please do that. Helps us reach a wider audience and spread the word about indie games. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. If you give us any amount of money, you are absolutely fantastic. But we made a commitment to the $3 tier and higher, and we're going to follow it. You know, we're the good boys. We're going to do it. Okay. I like to keep my promises. I got to be honest. I almost forgot that we were recording this at 10. Like I almost forgot. Luckily, I remembered a couple days ago because I had to post the question tweet and I was like, I remember something weird being about this episode. But otherwise, yeah, totally forgot for days, like 4 days. It was crazy.
You know,
luckily I remembered.
I had a thought. I was like, I bet he's going to forget. Like there was a little bit of an inkling in my mind, but I was like, I'll just wait and see. And I was like, if I'm sitting in this room alone at like 12:30, I'll be like, hey buddy, where you at? Like,
yeah, there are always those things every now and then where like, you think you're like, I'm pretty sure that person forgot. Like, we only talked about it a couple times. They might have forgot, but you don't want to be that person who kind of like accuses them of forgetting. Yeah. So you don't want to say anything about it, but then you end up fucking yourself because of course people forget. It's whatever, dude. It's whatever. It is, yeah. But I remembered.
I know. I'm so proud of you. You're so smart.
Got that steel trap of a brain that forgets 90% of my childhood, you know?
Hey, as long as you don't
probably
forget
just trauma. It's fun stuff. So thank you so much to Ethan, a gamer for fun. Just John. Also, gotta say, Just John, saw you playing Remnant from the Ashes. What's up, dude? Yeah. Hit me up. We can play together.
You know what's funny?
I'll fucking carry you through like I did Chris.
You know what's funny?
Dude, let's go.
Him and a buddy of mine were playing the other day, and they were like, you should come and play with us.
It's a great game, Josh. I don't know why you're being a bitch about it. Just play the fucking game.
Maybe.
We'll see. Mixmatoses, AK Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Pritchard, the Wombat of Australia, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You are all so amazing. And let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Oh, damn. Big Josh Boy back on that. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion by Snoozy Kazoo. So please tell me, is this because they did the Infinite Train roguelite thing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So tell me about it. What's up?
Yeah,
you
so
like it?
I decided I do. I'll caveat that though. I decided to jump back into it because Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. I had a lot of fun with it when I first played it. I thought it was a super charming, quirky, really fun. Like I love the writing, I love the music, the actual story to it was interesting because they had that back lore of you know the apocalyptic world and then what comes afterwards of all these anthropomorphic vegetables.
It's like Cars.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, exactly.
The fan theory for Cars
is
that there was like an apocalypse, like humans wiped each other out and Cars inherited the earth.
Yeah. So it's basically Cars the movie, but with vegetables, right? So it's great.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed
called VeggieTales.
VeggieTales. Yeah. There's a lot of religion pushes on this. No. This this game though, they came out with this DLC, which is a Infinite Train roguelite mode where if you beat the game, you get this notification that's like, hey, you've been invited to the train, or like some ticket to whatever. And you take the ticket, you go to the train, and it's like this onion conductor who's like, hey, come on, get onto the train. And I don't, thinking about it, I don't know if they give you context of like where you're going. They're just like, get on the train. And
I love train, dude.
So you're like, okay, cool. And so you get on this train, and then you're like, I'm stuck on this train. And there's all these people, like every cart that you go to is either like a battle, is a thing that will give you these upgradable, like little, not upgradable, but they're like kind of like stat boosts. It'll be something to the nature of, oh, when you kill enemies, there's a chance to heal. When you kill enemies, or when you hit enemies, there's a chance to light them on fire. Like little perks that kind of upgrade your character. And then there's also carts in the train that will just be like people that will talk to you. So it'll have that still same quirkiness of these random, like you'll walk by and there'll be like an avocado, and it'll just be like, hey, we're on a train and it's infinite. Well, I don't know how to get on. And then there'll be like people who are just like, I've been on this train for months. Like, how do I get off? And so you're just like running through, and then each one is like, you either kill some enemies, you talk to a person, you get an upgrade, and then you do that a couple of times until there's a boss. So you're fighting the same bosses that you fought in the initial game, but over in these different rooms. And then as you go through a full loop, you get to the conductor and you have to fight him. It's this onion who has a couple of different move sets, but you have to beat him, and then he's like, haha, but now you have to do it again. And it's you just constantly go through this loop of doing the same thing, very similar to like, a Hades in a sense of like you're playing again into that, but it's like one right after another. And it's kind of that test to see how far you can go. It's how many loops you can go through, because every time you go through a loop, you'll keep the same health, you'll keep the same upgrades. But what happens is they start giving you different enemies and upgraded enemies that will have something like, this one is just bigger. This one has more health. This one can poison you when it attacks. And it'll be like very basic things that will then expand into it becoming more difficult. They'll start applying those buffs to the bosses, and you kind of keep going. You get different upgrades. You get, all these different types of power-ups that you can play into. There's also like, if you get far enough, there's this like demon Turnip that's like basically you, but like this weird zombie version that fights you. That's like a harder version. That was kind of cool.
It's Turnip.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a negative turnip. Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
And so I went through a couple of loops. I enjoyed it because then after like each time you beat a boss, you get like a train ticket, or like, I guess they're tickets, but it's just kind of like a currency that then when you get out, you can buy extra little hats, which was like their big cosmetic thing in this game, is like, you get these hats. They're cool. Your little turnip can wear all these hats. But then as you start buying more of the hats, you then get like little upgrades for the actual runs that you do for these loops. So I think it's really cool. I think it's a neat experience from a roguelite perspective. This is not a roguelite game when it comes to like, I wouldn't buy this for this piece, right? For anyone who was like, I don't think I want to buy Turnip Boy because it doesn't look like a game for me. Like, this isn't going to sell you on it, right? I think this is an amazing little piece to get me back into that world. And for people who love Turnip Boy and want to experience a little bit more of that world and get, to talk to these different people and get to experience like the music again. Like, I love the music in this game. It's so good. And it's just like, the combat for me was never really my jam, just because it's much old school, like Zelda, of like, you'll attack and the sword kind of like flings out in front of you, and it's like kind of slow.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
And you're like, okay, sure. And it's just not my style. So like, some people might really dig this, but like, the combat was never the part of Turnip Boy that I completely loved. It was more of the exploration and the story to it and like the characters around it. So you get more of that. You get an extra piece of all of that with this DLC. And I was happy to jump back in. Like, I definitely liked the experience again, but it's one of those things where I tried it. I did a couple loops and I'm like, yeah, that was good for me. So, all right. For people who enjoyed it, I'd say pick it up, try it again. For people who looked at Turnip Boy and thought, nah, this is shit, I don't want it. Well, you're wrong. But if you think that, this isn't going to change your minds.
All right, yeah. I was actually kind of curious about that, you being a fan of roguelites. I was like, but I feel like a large portion of that is actually enjoying the combat of a roguelite. So it's like, I really was curious how you felt about Turnip Boy's combat and how that translates to this new Infinite Train.
I think some people might be more into it than I am, obviously, because I'm a little bit biased. I never was the biggest fan of their combat in it, but I do agree that like, this feels very much like a tacked on roguelite. This feels like just a mode where they were like, this would be fun to do, which it very much seems like that's the case. Like this doesn't feel like the core root of the game. And in itself, that very fact means that it's, you know, there's not as much time and love that was put into it that becomes a full game, right? If you really want that, I would say experience the story of Turnip Boy because it's a good story. But this part is like, it's fun, but will I play this as much as I did Hades or as much as I did Slay the Spire or Binding of Isaac? Like, no way. But it's still good.
It's just a fun little tacked on bit
exactly.
for anybody who wants to continue to experience the world.
Exactly.
That's cool. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Still fun though.
And you've also been playing Golf with Your Friends by Blacklight Interactive. I believe this is a game you've actually played before. This is all about returning to games, dude. I'm fairly certain you've played this before.
I don't know that I've talked about it on the show before.
Really? I thought you did like a long time ago.
No.
I mean, we've been doing this for like fucking 3 or 4 years now. So
like, I mean, the only thing that you might be thinking of What the Golf.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe I'm just thinking of the like myriad of stories we've actually covered of Golf with Your Friends. Like that's probably what it was. Like we've just randomly talked about it. But are you liking it? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah. So I just wanted to give this one will be a quicker one. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Golf with Your Friends because this is it's a Game Pass game, which is obviously the reason why I played it. But it was a game that came out in 2016 in early access, and now in 2020, well, last year, it officially dropped. And there's it's not perfect. It's definitely clunky at times. And there are certain like things that are a little wonky when you're playing the game, but I've had so much fun with this game. It is basically a mini golf game that you play with your friends and you can play all at the same time of like swinging the ball on these ridiculous courses. Like they start off with the first course. If you start with the forest, it's all very normal. And it's like, oh, I'm playing mini golf, whatever. And then you go and you play it in like space. And there's all these crazy like black holes that will like fling your ball into weird directions and like these like teleporters and like weird gravity changes. And there's like all these little things that make it really wacky and interesting. There's even, you could change the modes where instead of playing mini golf, you're playing it where it's hockey. And there's like goalies at the end of where the hole would have been. Or you could play party mode where they have, which I hate party mode because it's ridiculous, but where you're playing the regular golf mode, but then they also have like, as if you're playing Mario Kart, those little item boxes that are just randomly throughout the map. And it'll be something like, oh, the randomizer. And you'll do it to attack other people. And it'll turn like your ball into like an egg or like a square.
Basically just ways to fuck your friends.
Yeah, it's just
like, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's just pissing people off. But like there's times where some of those courses are like ridiculous and I'm like, oh, fuck this. Like, cause shit just won't go my way. Right. But I think that's kind of like the point of it. And it's just really fun because there's all these different mini golf courses where I personally love mini golf, like just in general. So I got into it, but I love going through and just being like, I'm only going to do trick shots. Cause there's usually always a way to make it either in like one, like a hole in one or like in 2 shots, but you have to like bounce it off these crazy fucking things. And like, I love doing it. It's so fun. I definitely would recommend it. I think if you have Game Pass, you should check it out cause it's free, you know, for the most part, other than obviously the monthly subscription. The only bad thing is they do not do any crossplay, even between Game Pass of Xbox and PC. They don't do crossplay. And if you have the PC version from Game Pass on, you know, the Microsoft Store, you can't crossplay with people on Steam, which sucks.
That blows.
So it's like, yeah. So we had an issue where a buddy of ours couldn't play because he has the Steam version, and we were like, oh well, guess we can't golf with you because you're not our friend.
Should have got Game Pass and you're dumb bitch.
Yeah, should have been our friend. But I'm thinking of honestly waiting until a sale comes out because right now it's $14.99, which I think is a little high for what's there. I think it's still a great game, but like especially now that I've played a lot of it, I feel like I might wait until a sale comes on and wait until it's like maybe like $7 or something. Because one of the things that you're missing from like Game Pass is Steam has the Steam Workshop, which is all those mods and all those people who there is a level creator. So there's all these different courses that could be out there after we've, you know, gone through their library of actual develop made courses. But I want to try all this like new shit that's out there of people just making wacky kind of stuff. So we'll see. I probably will pick it up and see what that is whenever it goes on sale. And maybe I'll do another update on like how interesting the different workshop courses are. But so far, I think like if you're looking for a mini game type game that's pretty easy to pick up, like my wife and I played it together and she definitely is not in like able to play a lot of games, but she had a lot of fun with it. Like I think this is one that is a lot of fun, and it's good for, you know, it's a family game. Like it's really good for either just a bunch of buddies or you can play with your family. Like it's a fun game. Check it out.
All right. For me, I've just played more Psychonauts 2.
Hell yeah, baby.
I really haven't had like, okay, so I should say I haven't played that much more. I just haven't had a massive amount of time to play more games. Like, and granted, yesterday I played a bunch of games, but I've been getting into Cyberpunk 2077. I got to be honest. I bought it the other day.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I picked it up because Hello Future Me did like a video on how like, oh, Cyberpunk is a little bit more complicated than you thought it was. And I was like, ooh, I got to check this shit out. And watching some of it, I was like, this seems pretty interesting. So I've been playing a decent amount of that, but I've also been trying to put some time into Psychonauts 2 when I can. Honestly, I gotta be real, and this is a little bit weird with how excited I was for this game.
No.
I don't know if I like Psychonauts 2.
Wow.
I really don't. Like there are a couple issues that I find legitimately off-putting. Like being talked to like I'm a child, whatever, like that shit happens. But also it assumes you've had conversations. And I talked about this last week, but I hadn't got to this really egregious moment where somebody, I forget specifically what they said, but they were like, it was kind of like the like, oh, remember what I taught you thing. But they referred to something. They were like, yeah, and this scenario, like before, oh, I remember what it was. You find your little brother in the woods. You can find him earlier on before going and talking to your mom. And you're like, mom's looking for you. You don't have that conversation with her until after that moment. Or at least I didn't. Yeah. And I was like, why would you place this so early on in this? Like, because there's a path. You see him so much earlier than you would even be able to see your mom. So I'm like, why?
That's interesting.
Like, if you want this conversation to happen.
Yeah,
like,
I saw the mom first. So for me, it didn't even trigger to me.
Really? Yeah. Nah, for me, it was like the kid was basically at the entrance, of this like little playground area, this like campground. Yep. And then the mom is further in past their like Thunderdome shit that they're setting up. Yeah. So I found the kid before and he's like, mom's looking for you. And I was like, what? Like how? What do you mean? And then I later run into her and I was like talking to her and she's like, oh, go find your brother. And I was like, so it just assumed I'd have this conversation first? Like, but he's so close. He's like right at the entrance of this area and she's like in the middle. I was like, what? It was very weird to me. Yeah. I was like, whatever. Like that was a little odd.
I'm sad to hear that.
Yeah, and I don't know. And there's one thing that a lot of people have talked about, and at least that I've seen, is like enjoying the combat and enjoying boss battles. And I think the boss battles can be fun, but I don't like them all the time. I feel like often enough, typically what a boss battle will do is if there's a new mechanic, like if they're trying to teach you a new mechanic for the game, how to use a new power or whatever, they will teach you throughout the level. And then you implement it in the boss fight so that you actually understand how this works. But instead, there are a couple boss fights where I've been like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, I don't understand. Like even that first boss fight, and I think I talked about this last week, is like the octopus. And it's like, you have to blast off little nodes on its tentacles and then throw these bombs inside. And I was like, you don't really say anything about that. Like, it was just, I guess it was something that I just had to figure out, but I found it so odd that they don't hint at it at all. Like, they're just like, nah. And then later on, fighting like the judge when you go into that dude's brain, like, I forget, it's like Dogen's uncle, his great uncle. You go into his head and you have to fight the judge first of all. That was so boring. I literally hopped in and I was like, he's just a normal enemy, but like has a health bar that's like a boss. It was so weird to me. I don't know. There are a few things that I'm not super impressed by, but I honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure whether I do enjoy the game. I don't enjoy the game. I keep telling Chase, I'm like, I'm going to play until I get to the point in the story where like things start to come together to see if I like really, really care about it. If I like it or I don't like it. I'm going to make sure I give it enough time to actually decide that. Cause right now it's just petty things. Like petty things I'm not enjoying about it. So I'm going to give it a while. But I don't know, dude. I really don't know.
I can't wait. You got to finish it. Just finish it.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. It's
a struggle.
It's a hard one. But of course, we're going to be doing our book club for it. So hopefully I beat it by then. Hopefully we could talk about it. But speaking of talking about some new shit, let's hop over to our first news story. This is written by Rebecca Valentine. It's over on IGN. It is Coffee Talk gets a sequel. Glitch Hikers returns and more from the Indie Houses showcase. So the indie houses, we talked about them all coming together to try to like share information and do stuff together, make more of a cooperative front instead of one that's based in trying to one up another, which a lot of these showcases do. So they recently came out with a showcase and damn, there's a lot of shit in this.
Yeah.
In all honesty, like I wasn't able to actually watch the showcase, but I also like, we recorded this a bit earlier. I was a little bit behind, so I didn't get to just flip through everything in this, but I was so surprised by how seemingly in depth they went with a lot of these games. Some of them are just gameplay trailers. Some have actual like release date announcements, and some are just straight up actual announcements of like publishing deals or just of the game themselves.
Right.
So I find that very, very interesting. Big Josh Boy, would you like to do our normal thing that we do, where we just like pick out a couple things that we really enjoy and we talk about it?
Yeah.
You think that'd probably be easier?
I think that makes sense. I admittedly did not watch the full showcase either. I'm more of just, carrying up on the cliff notes. This week was pretty busy for me in just general. So I wasn't able to fully watch that. I do think it's interesting though, that they're like, oh, this is a collaborative process, but like, ultimately, it just becomes a showcase of just general stuff. But I do like the mix up of, you alluded to, hey, it's not just, gameplay after gameplay. It's like, here's an actual date that's announced. Here's a release of DLC, like actual pieces that are like, here's a game you already know. Here's some that are coming out. Here's just
this things. Is just an update.
Yeah, it's a good mix of news that makes it so it's not just like game after game after game of just random like this is coming. And there's like I was looking through and at first I was like, all right, I'll pick like a couple. And I looked at these and I was like, there's a lot of good games in here. Like there's a lot of things that I would try out in this list.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you bring together so many indie game publishers, like it just makes sense that they're going to have a lot of like really great games, especially with I guess the pedigree that they're going for. Like Raw Fury has published some good shit.
Raw Fury is great.
Akupara has published some good shit. Like they got some good publishers together. So it totally makes sense that they would have granted. I feel like a lot of these are like a not for me game. Like, oh man, this game looks really cool. Like the Legend of Tian Ding.
Oh really? That's a
one
not for you game? I thought it looked super cool.
I'm just not really like, I don't really like I guess it is like a 2D action platformer. And I think that's kind of cool. I guess it might even borderline on 2.5D, but like, I don't know. It didn't seem like my kind of game. It almost seemed like it bordered on the chasm between being a 2D action platformer and being a beat 'em up. Like it was very close, and I'm not a fan of beat 'em ups.
I thought the same thing too, and my head kind of went to, oh, this is a brawler. It'll be okay. But like generally I have fatigue when it comes with those games because I play them for a little bit and I'm like, I like this. And then an hour in, I'm like, I'm done.
It almost reminds me of like Super Crush KO, which I actually enjoyed, but it's just, I don't like the arcadey nature of combat. Like I like the actual like 2D action platformers, like a Hollow Knight. Like I really, really love that, or Chasm. Like I guess I like the Metroidvania style more than anything, but like more.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it looked really cool, and I don't know enough about it to say one way or the other. So I think it's one of those things where like I'm optimistic about it, but yeah, like there's definitely a chance that looking at this game, there would be fatigue where I would be like, yeah, this is fun, but like it's going to get boring. Not boring.
The art style is super fucking cool though.
Yes, it really
That's
is.
a big thing. Yeah. It looks really, really awesome. It looks, I want to say like a real, like it looks like a very stylized anime world, and I actually really like that. Supposedly it's based on like a Taiwanese like folk hero, which I think is really cool. Once again, going back to like Errol talking about, I think it was like Mulaka, where he was talking about covering like different aspects of spirituality and covering different cultures outside of basically what we often do, which is like Norse mythology right now. Everyone wants to make a game in fucking Norse mythology or Greek mythology, and instead this is just like they're talking about a Taiwanese folk hero, and it's like I never would have known about this, like unless it was something that was frequently referred to in like anime or something like that. Never would have known. So I do think that this looks interesting. It's very possible that it comes out and I'm super into it. I have no idea. Just right now, first looks, the kind of beat 'em up nature of the game, not exactly my deal, but hey, maybe. So Big Josh Boy, let's do a 3. Let's do a 3, and then I'll try to make sure I cover the ones that have release date announcements. What are 3 games within this showcase that really blew you away that you feel like are kind of like a day one purchase, or just something that you're really looking forward to?
Okay. This is going to be kind of surprising. Well, maybe not, but Jack Axe. Which is the very like cartoony platformer type game where you seem to be this barbarian who's throwing an axe and being able to like jump to it. I thought it looked super cool. Seems very much my style of like games I used to play when I was younger, which is maybe it's like a nostalgia kick, like a fake nostalgia kick. But I think it just looks super snappy and fun. Like it seems to be something that I would enjoy. So I can't wait to see when this comes out and see more about it, because it feels like it would be my type of game for sure.
The game mechanic of like you throwing the axe and teleporting to it reminds me a lot of that game Daggerhood, which I believe you actually played. So I'm interested to see how this one will stack up, because I vaguely remember you not necessarily enjoying the game.
I wasn't that into it. But then again, I feel like there's a bit more to this. Like Daggerhood was very much in that mechanic, and it was like that mechanic alone. And I feel like there wasn't as much of a emphasis on the actual level building, like level design. Whereas this one, I feel like there's a good amount from what has been shown of variety and different mechanics that come into play, other than just the like jump to where you throw your weapon. The next one that I'll talk about is Kraken Academy. Kraken Academy just looks it looks so weird. Like
that was one of the games I was going to talk about too.
I'm into it.
It looks very cool.
I'm into it because it was just like super over the top with everything. It's just like there's crocodiles and people are on fire and all is like all the people are, I don't know, it was so weird.
Kraken wants my help to save the world.
Like you're like what is, like it's very much like I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know that I will enjoy that game, but I want to know more about that game, right? That's why I think it's one that caught my attention. I don't know that it's going to be, because I don't know what gameplay looks like in that game at all. I just know that
is a little bit weird that they didn't feature any gameplay. They kind of just featured, like, I guess that's one thing that really could get you into the world get you into the game is understanding what that world is like, and that it's so nonsensical. But the one big thing lacking from that trailer was any sort of gameplay.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I think, let me take a quick look. Like Kraken Academy, I think had some amount of like dating sim elements, or like, because we've talked about it either on Kickstarter or some other area before, like when it was first in development. and let's see, funny adventure, dark humor, time travel. Like, yeah, I still don't know exactly what gameplay looks like and what that loop looks like from a mechanic standpoint. So I'm not too sure I'm sold on it, but I definitely want to keep an eye on it, right? Like it's wacky enough and interesting enough to grab my attention. So I will keep an eye on it.
We definitely talked about this game at God Bless the Crowd. And I specifically remember because the broccoli girl. That was the only thing that I vividly remember, this fucking broccoli girl.
Yes. It is very interesting to see, over doing this for a couple of years now, this podcast, to see all of these things come to fruition, like slowly over time, of just being like, we've talked about that like a long time ago. But yeah, so I'm very much keeping an eye on it. I will do 2 more technically. I know I said 3, but one of them is just like a kind of like,
you're good.
I just want to give it a shout out because I think it's super cool. But the first one before that, I want to talk about the Forest Cathedral. It's very strange. It reminds me of kind of like a walking, like a narrative simulator type game where you're walking through this forest. It's called a psychological thriller because it seems to be like you're doing some research in the forest on something like mosquitoes or some type of level that you're watching of like the fish of something that's in them. And it's like going crazy. But like in the midst of that story that's happening, you also have this almost like a Game Boy to the side of the screen that you're constantly playing these little like mini games while, like, I guess that's their consideration of doing research in the theme of the story. Like, I don't know. That's
interesting.
It looks so weird that I want to try it out because some of the mini games look fun. And also I kind of want to just know more about the story. It just looks super weird and I'm into it. Like a lot of these games have been very much the same kind of like, it caught my attention because it's unique. And so I want to know what it is. And then the last one I'll talk about is Kana Quest, which I have no interest in playing this. I have no interest in ever picking this up. But I think it is such a cool idea. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who want this as a thing. It's basically a puzzle game that lightly teaches you how to, to write in Japanese or speak in Japanese? Let me read
That's
Japanese hiragana by moving individual hiragana around to form common sounds. So it's like a very light way to teach you different languages, which I think is such a cool idea because I'm a huge nerd because, we've mentioned it before. Like I have a master's degree in organizational and industrial psychology, which is very much, I went in a track of like training and teaching people. And like, I love things like this because it's a nerdy way of doing it, but it's like, how do you teach someone something while still retaining a fun element of it, right? Of like, it's a puzzle game, but also you might learn these common sounds and this language in the midst of it. And like, I'd love to see this in other facets because I don't have any interest in learning Japanese or doing that. Maybe it would be fun anyway, but like it's not going to grab me. But I think there's a lot of people who would probably appreciate this, both from a perspective of like, oh, it's a fun puzzle game. And also I'm getting something out of it from like a real world perspective. So just a shout out to it.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible that you learn something from it. There's like, I forget what it's called, but I do enjoy this, like bringing what you learn in a game into the real world. Like there is an MMO that I wanted to play a while ago that is actually entirely code based, and everything you do, you have to actually do a line of code, and it's meant to teach you how to learn. That's cool. To learn like different coding languages. Always thought that was really cool. Yeah. I was always really interested in that, but knowing that I'm an idiot, I'm like, I don't know. Plus, like, suck. I don't know if it has a fucking player base. Shut your mouth. So for the games that I want to talk about, one, of course, was going to be Kraken Academy. I don't know why, but I think it's mostly stems from my love of anime, is the changing of the like school setting into something that's just weird or obscure. I find that really interesting and I like that a lot. Whether it's something like, I guess in a sense, like D. Gray Man is kind of like that, which is an anime about like slaying demons, but it's people learning how to slay demons. Or like, of course, Naruto is about being ninjas and shit like that. Like I really enjoy the mixture of, and of course my favorite, My Hero Academia. The integrating these weird aspects of this world into a school setting. I find that really interesting. I like that a lot. So Kraken Academy obviously was going to be something that I wanted to talk about, mostly just because of the school setting. And I want to know what's up with that broccoli girl.
Broccoli babe.
What's up with that? Another one that I actually found really interesting that I do not think will actually be for me, but I thought it was interesting, is Cardboard Kings. I thought that was
That's
really
hilarious that you're the one who brings that up.
I know, right? I'm the one who brings up the card game. I really like the art style of these different cards. I think the monkey carrying a shitload of knives is kind of interesting, or this odd banana is cool. I don't know. I just find it cool, and the idea of like the entire thesis of the game is to just create the best game shop. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's really interesting. All right. And if it integrates like mechanics of opening up booster packs and getting new cards, like that'd be cool. Cause I've always been a fan of the old Yu-Gi-Oh games that did that. So like that's a pretty good one. I'm interested in that. You know what I mean? And then the last one I wanted to talk about is one I've actually talked about in the past, but it's just I want to see more of this fucking game. Is Wolf Stride? It's the noir turn-based game all about mechs and shit. Oh yeah,
it looks good.
You best believe.
It looks.
I
good.
want to talk about this game. It looks very good. It looks very interesting.
I only didn't pick it because we've talked about it in previous shows, but yeah, like Wolf Stride looks dope.
Yeah, we definitely have talked about it before, but I love the look of that game. So to go by and just give the release date announcements and such, The Legend of Tian Ding is headed to the Nintendo Switch and Steam on October 27th. Then we have we got a launch trailer. I gotta like sort through these. We have a DLC sneak peek of Lost Castle. It's their final DLC, which is kind of interesting. I believe Cardboard Kings. Oh, okay. Their demo is available now over on Steam. All right. Then we've got Suzerain, which is going to be available on the Nintendo Switch on September 23rd, which is pretty sweet. Let's keep looking. I know we got more release dates. Oh, Kraken Academy coming to PC on September 10th. Then we've got No Longer Home.
That's this week, baby.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Pretty close.
You go buy that? You go buy some Kraken Academy?
I mean, probably not. I'm like gearing up for New World, dude.
How could get this shit out of here with this MMO bullshit? What have you been playing that's fucking indie lately? You're like Psychonauts 2.
Like really nothing.
Fucking New World. We got some fucking. I don't even remember what the fuck you were talking about just a second ago. Cyberpunk. That's not the least indie. Well, I guess it's. You could argue it's indie, but like
you could say it is, but whatever.
It's not.
We've got No Longer Home coming to Xbox One and Nintendo Switch on October 7th. Then we have, sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through this, trying to figure out which one specifically. I didn't write this one up or anything because I was like, oh, we're just going to talk about it. But now I'm like, man, wish I would have done that. Then we've got Teacup is headed to the Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox on September 23rd. And what else do we have?
Dream Cycle.
We have Sable is coming on September 23rd, and I believe that is about it for this news story. So now that we have covered that news story, it's time for us to hop into News Cram. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of Indie Pod and Indie Games Podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week, we do not actually have any quick news stories or any new deals or quick deals. Of course, there actually is like a Humble Bundle sale over on, well, there's naturally just this big summer sale over on Humble Bundle. I'm not exactly sure when that one is going to end, but there is a Humble Bundle publisher sale over on the Nintendo Switch, but that actually ends on the 7th of September. So for our patrons, you can hop into it, but sadly for all the plebes that are listening on free sources, I'll try to make sure I post it on our Twitter. So be sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter to be notified of all the new deals and quick steals that you might have missed. But yeah, it sadly is going to end by the time this goes live for everybody.
So sad.
But we do have a whole bunch of new stuff. So let's hop into that. Our first 7 items in new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that first-person shooter Turbo Overkill by Trigger Happy Interactive is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime in 2022. And I should say, it's something that Nintendo Life does that annoys me, where they only talk about if a game is coming to the Nintendo Switch and rarely ever talk about it coming to other platforms. But sometimes they'll just say other platforms, and I have no real way of verifying what exact platforms it's coming to, with the exception of Steam, because of their like Steam pages and stuff. There are times when we have like a PlayStation listing and other stuff, but sadly I can't all the time. So I understand it's a little bit hypocritical for me to only include the 2, because I get annoyed in Nintendo Life for only including the 1, but just what I got to do at this point. Granted, the reason I find it so annoying is because I know that they're doing this from a press release, and on the press release, they list consoles.
Yeah.
So it's entirely different. I'm not the butthole here. You know what I mean? But
What a butthole.
moving on. I know, right? Boom, butthole here. That action-adventure game, The Serpent Rogue by Senji Games, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime in 2022. That tower defense beat-em-up game, The Last Friend by Stonebot Studio and Ludus Games, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on September 30th. That sandbox stealth experience, Sir, You Are Being Hunted by Big Robot Ltd, is headed to the Nintendo Switch sometime in Q1 of 2022. That adventure game Toem by Something We Made is headed to the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and PC via Steam on September 17th. That action-adventure game Aztec Forgotten Gods by Lienzo is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam in Q1 of 2022. And lastly, the turn-based meta RPG Galaxy of Pen and Paper +1 by Behold Studios is getting a physical release on the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, with sales being made exclusively through Red Art Games website from September 2nd through October 6th. I believe the game is like $35 or 35 euros, because it is actually like, I know it might be being sold like exclusively through like Australia, New Zealand,
right,
someplace in Europe. I'm not exactly sure. I know they on the box have the PEGI system, so it's obviously not going to be in American dollars. So technically it's going to be a little bit more, but whatever. We'll move on. Now over to Polygon, where it's reported that open universe exploration game No Man's Sky by Hello Games just received another free update titled Frontiers, which adds a Mos Eisley-esque cantina cantinas to the game, with some improvements to base building and the game's the game's HUD, so the heads-up display and UI. So that's pretty cool.
When will they stop making free content?
I don't know. I'm actually kind of interested, like, in how exactly Hello Games is separated at this point, because they, of course, like, they had the team that made The Last Campfire, but then also they have, like, obviously people working on No Man's Sky, and as far as I know, they are working on other projects. So I'm wondering if it's like a like motion twin Evil Empire scenario with Dead Cells, where it's like these people want to work on this game, so there's like a small group that's continually updating No Man's Sky. Like, I want to know so much more about Hello Games.
No idea.
Whatever. Moving on. Now over on Twinfinite, where it's reported that management sim Spiritfarer by Thunder Lotus Games just received a new update that adds a new spirit named Beverly to the game, as well as some quality of life improvements. Now over on IGN, where it's reported that roguelite.
Get it right.
Roguelite tactics game Grim Tranquility by Poorly Timed Games is headed to PC via Steam sometime in 2022. And to round out the group, over on GameSpot, it's reported that golf-like game, so this is like a golf roguelike game, Curse to Golf by what is that studio's name there?
No.
Kuhei or Chuhei Labs? I don't know. Whatever.
Close.
Moving on. I butchered that. I knew I was going to. It's my fault, not yours. I'm an idiot. Is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime in 2022.
Looks so
Big
cool.
Josh boy, I saw you tweeting about this game.
Dude, it looks
You
so
excited?
cool. I'm so excited.
Alright.
I'm on a golf kick lately. I don't know why. Wait.
Dude, golf games are fun. Like a while ago, it was a couple years ago, but I just binged everybody's golf. I was super into it for some reason. It's just a game I wanted to play. Golf games are weirdly fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
I really like it. I think it's so cool turning this into a roguelike game. It's very I'm still skeptical on how exactly it'll work because they're talking about having like procedural generation, I think, of like changing the maps a bit and having it so it's fresh every time. But I think it's cool from what I've seen. Like, I'm into it. I can't wait to check this one out and actually get it.
All right. So now that we have thoroughly covered all of the amazing new stuff coming, it is time for us to get back to the developers in our next segment, God Bless the Crowd. This is where the biggest of average Josh boys hops into all sorts of crowdfunding sites, finds something awesome for us to talk about, and we do just so. This week, we are headed over to Kickstarter once again to talk about a game called Midautumn, a supernatural roguelite, a supernatural game about blasting evil spirits, diaspora culture? How do you say that? Is it diaspora? Diaspora culture?
Maybe.
I don't know. That's an interesting word. And saving your hometown from gentrification. The developers of this are looking for $30,000. At the time of this recording, they have $12,929 with 249 backers and 31 days left to go. And I believe the developers, I'm going to butcher this name here, but it is Shervin Udawana.
Sounds about right.
I fucked that one up. So, Big Josh boy, what do you think about Midautumn?
Dude, this looks good. It looks like Hades in a lot of ways.
Yeah. You almost don't want to say it looks like Hades.
Yeah, it looks like so. And granted, the reason why it looks like that is because it has the same kind of structure of seemingly you're going through and you're constantly talking to these random entities, which I assume are these spirits, which feels very reminiscent of talking to the different Greek gods at random
points. They're your ancestors, right. So it's a little bit even closer.
It's so these random intervals throughout the game, so it feels very similar in that regards, but the combat looks a bit different. It looks, obviously very quick pace or fast paced, very chaotic in a way. And that's kind of where I think this has a lot of potential just looking at it from a first part, but this is my biggest concern with the game. The visuals are almost to a point where they hurt my eyes.
Yeah, they are very inconsistent where they have they have just the normal everyday pixel art, and then they have what almost looks like an infrared sense of their effects, where it's these weird green hues and it's very odd.
Yeah. So here's the thing, if it was just the pixel art, if it was just the story of you have this quick snappy you're dashing, you're slashing, you're attacking. Maybe if they had some type of particle thing, I'd totally be on board with this. And I'd be like, this is a game that everyone has to pick up. This is a game that looks really cool. That art style, I don't vibe with the visual effects at all because it becomes very jarring. And to the point where I first watched this and I was like, this combat looks awful. And then I had to realize what was happening. And I was like, oh, well, no, it's not bad. It's just, I don't know what these blobs are that are fucking floating around. And so that part just kind of made it so it was yes, you should have things that make the combat chaotic and make it kind of, not difficult to understand, but you have to get a feel for it so that you can kind of embrace that chaos, and that blends into the, you're fighting evil spirits, right? It should be kind of crazy. But I just think that if that aspect was cleaned up, this would be a lot more of a game that I'd be 100% in on recommending. That being said, I still think there's potential. I think that a lot of people will still enjoy this. I just don't think I'd be able to get over that visual representation of what they're using for certain effects, because it like kind of hurts my eyes in general. I don't think I could take a whole game of this. But the characters, the story behind it, the actual, what seemingly is the combat without that visual cue, I think is all very impressive. And especially, we talk about how Kickstarters are always in different phases of their life, but like where it's at right now, I feel is very fleshed out from what they've shown. And for that, I think that if you're asking for $20 as that, that minimum price to jump in, I don't think that's unreasonable for what the game is. I think it has a lot of potential. Like I said, I just wish it didn't have that strange infrared look to it, because it just visibly feels off for me.
Yeah, I think definitely, since it's taking some cues from Hades, I think that, granted, I imagine like if it would release like now, it would probably be a little bit more popular. Maybe if Hades continues to have this like lasting success, it has a length.
Well,
maybe,
I mean, it did have,
when this game comes out.
It did have, its revitalization. It did become revitalized because of Game Pass. So like,
yeah, and it's like it came to consoles, so it came to like PlayStation and Xbox. People could finally play it outside the Nintendo Switch or PC.
Right.
That's like this game's gonna have legs. I'm just like, oh, maybe since this is possibly going to be delivered like in December of this year, I hope that with all this fervor that people have for Hades, if they've already beaten it, maybe this like contacting your ancestors and everything will get people into this game.
Where did you see December of this year?
Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. That's the first one. Sorry, it's September of 2023.
Yeah, I was like, we've got some time.
No, it's that like $1 pledge, which is our thanks.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's right. Yeah. It's September in 2023, but still, I think people could get into this game. I mean, I really love the Convo overlays. Big thing for me. I loved them in Hades. I love them in a bunch of different games like Don't Give Up. I very much appreciate Convo overlays. I think they're awesome. But yeah, I don't know. It's very possible that these weird like particle effects that they're using throw people off, because they are not my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy them either. I think that they could have gone something along the lines of like a Wizard of Legend, where like using Wizard of Legend has awesome effects with different elements, but it's still in that pixelated nature instead of using these kind of like blobby elements. I don't really know. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't believe there is a demo for the game available right now. No, there is. There is a demo available. So maybe hop into that. See if it starts to hurt your eyes. Like actually playing. I don't really know. It's very possible.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It's interesting. And like I get like from a theme perspective, like the blob makes sense because it's like a different, like an ethereal type of not real, but like otherworldly visual cue
it's like
that you're trying
energy versus an actual like elemental magic.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I understand where they're going with it, but it's just like it feels so different from the rest of how the game looks that it just feels off, right? Like the rest of the art style does not blend well, I feel like, with those random blobs that happen. And there seems to be like there's parts in the video where they're fighting and they like roll through it, and like as they're doing it, the whole screen changes color and it says like lunar roll, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like I just don't understand it. And maybe it's more of like I need to play the demo, or maybe it's just like you need experience with that, but it just seems like a lot that it just feels bloated in a way of I would more appreciate something that's like not as visually aggressive. This is me being super nitpicky though. Like I feel like I'm generally not as nitpicky with these kind of things, but just I don't know, something about it. Yeah, I know I'm really feeling the Vaughn
You're channeling
vibe.
some me.
Yeah, today. But there's just something about it that just it just doesn't sit well with me. But I still think that, like I said, it has potential. I think it fits that, if you finished Hades and you're looking for that itch, like this might fill that void. Obviously it's not anytime soon, but still, could be a really cool different thing. I would say check it out. Check out the demo and give it a try, because you might be totally fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we have headed over, we've given back to the developers. In that segment, it's time for us to hop in to our listener questions. Our first listener question for this week comes by way of Twitter. It's Jason from, I want to say, In From Japan.
Yeah.
That is the actual, I was like, I don't know if they've changed it or not. I'm fairly certain that it is still In From Japan. It is a podcast where Jason and Errol talk about all sorts of Japanese games, any games coming from Japan, and all sorts of like interesting JRPG news. They talk about Monster Tamers. Very cool. Check it out. But they write in and say, why are you looking so weird?
No.
You look so puzzled for a second. You're like,
because I was like, yeah, it's In From Japan. And then I was like, oh, let me type it. Because like I can find it on Twitter, but I was like, oh, let me just type it on Google. But for some reason, it doesn't come up as like one of the things. Yeah. You need to work on your SEO search. That's going to be your first thing that we'll say.
So Jason writes in and says, what a milestone. So that would be surpassing our 150th episode. Very cool episode. What would your advice be for baby podcasters? I think it's actually kind of cute that like Jason calls, I haven't seen him call you that, but he calls me podcast senpai, and I find that legitimately hilarious. So I love that. But Big Josh Boy, do you have any advice for baby podcasters? Anybody trying to get into the podcasting game?
I mean, I would say the first thing is, searchability. The fact that I put in From Japan podcast and I couldn't find y'all is alarming. Like if I put in Indie Pod, the first thing that comes up is our Twitter, is a bunch of things from Apple Podcasts. Like we're pretty close for people just showing up. And I don't know really what we've done to get that, that being said, but there's probably ways that you could optimize how people are finding you. I think something that like, I don't think that we're like, just because we made 150 episodes doesn't mean we know what we're doing. Right. I think it's very indicative of the fact that we have been like, I think we got kind of successful, and it's successful is definitely not a word in any rights of like, there are definitely bigger podcasts
We've
out
seen
there.
small success.
Yeah. That's the thing. But I think it definitely makes sense that we just kind of got lucky in a lot of ways, which is like hard to attribute to tell someone like what you need to do. But like, I think that what we are starting to do with like of having different like clips and having different ways to promote, I think the fact that we kind of varied ourselves in like this, both we have this very jokey / news episodes, which are very focused on, what's happening around us. But then I also do those developer interviews to kind of like give a little bit of variety for like, there's probably people who listen, or at least I hope there's people who probably listen and they just listen to the developer interviews, or vice versa. They just listen to the news episodes, because there's a difference in what you're getting from a content perspective. So it's like diversifying your portfolio, I think, is important. But obviously there's the caveat of you might stretch yourself too thin in certain cases, but I think we're pretty aligned with how these are set up. But also it's really just like consistency. Like it's the fact that we are very consistent with when our content comes out, of, what you can expect from us is kind of what gets you there. And then a little bit of it is like, we should probably reach out more to other people. Like I think that's our biggest like thing right now is like we don't expand into other,
we don't collaborate all that often.
We're really bad about that. And I think that's something that you should definitely do as a smaller, people who are trying to come up, is like, we need to start reaching out to other people and gaining new audiences. Cause the whole point is like, of why you would want to collaborate with someone is like, you give your audience, they give you their audience, kind of a thing. And then like, you might find some people, like we've had, Will C, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure Will C, the only reason he knows us is because
Classic Gaming.
We went on the Classic Gaming podcast. It's the only way we found Will, or Will found us rather. And like, that's a patron who's been here the entire time that we've had the Patreon open. And like, we wouldn't have had that if we didn't go on a random podcast that was, I mean, they're part of our network, but still like, we could have just not gone. And then, what would have happened? I think the biggest problem is like, a lot of it is you have to, at the point where you're not known, like people aren't going to ask for you, right? Like people still don't ask for us very much. It's very rare that we get like someone who's like, hey, you want to come on? And like anytime they do, I'm always like super excited, because it's fucking crazy. But like the alternative to that is like reaching out to a ton of people and being like, come on our show, and like, you know, we'll hype you up, and then hopefully that kind of attributes to some other trickling of people that come in. It's kind of a long game, I think, and it sucks in a lot of ways. I think it's why a lot of people don't keep doing it. But I think it's also like a little bit of insanity for both of us to just be like, let's just fucking keep hitting our heads on it and see if it works. I think that's really like what IndiePod has done, is just been like, we are aggressively consistent in just putting out content regardless of who's looking, and lucky enough, people ended up showing up.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, I feel like you covered a lot of like really great topics, but the biggest one you really need to hammer down, I feel like we actually talked about this last week, is consistency. You have to put out, if you say you're going to put out an episode on Wednesday or whatever at a certain time, you have to put out an episode every Wednesday. People need to be able to depend on you. Granted, like, shit happens, slip up happens. Like we've had it before where I fucked up, accidentally uploaded it like too early, too late, whatever. Like stuff happens, people understand, but you can't keep pushing stuff off. You can't be like, oh, we're not going to have an episode this week because something came up or whatever. Like that's when like I've lined up guests, Josh has lined up guests, or like we've done like solo episodes. We've done different things because we have to make sure these episodes go out. And it's the biggest thing is just consistency. Even if it takes you years, if you're consistent, I truly believe you will see some modicum of success, whether that is just a consistent like 100 views, whether that is a couple thousand, whatever. Like it really doesn't matter. As long as like you're happy with the product you're making, you just have to be consistent. And I guess that would be like the second thing is like, be happy. You need to strive for the best you can possibly do. Don't settle for just putting something out. Just do your absolute best. Put your all into something. And I think people will flock to it because of that. Like Josh and I, we try to make sure we give these episodes our all. We do everything that we can for this. And Josh does for the developer interviews. And I really feel like it shows. We have a good audio quality. We have put time and effort into this, and I very much appreciate it. And you really you have to make something that you're proud of. Yep. In the past, I've made shows that like I personally just wasn't proud of, and I didn't care because of it. But the second that I started IndiePod, the second I started Go Beyond, or any other things that I've really, really loved doing, and I was really proud of it, my idea of it, and like it was no longer like, it's not a chore. It is something I look forward to, something I love to do every week. So you really just got to get into that mindset of like, I am going to do my absolute best in this, and I'm going to be proud of it because of that. And you'll easily get through like episodes without any views or anything. Like I truly believe if you are proud of what you're making, it doesn't matter if anyone is actually watching. I honestly, the longest time we made IndiePod, barely any views, barely anybody was listening. Yeah, like it was like 1 or 2 people, whatever. We got like 10 views, and then we went up to 100 views. Then we've gone up to 1,000, and even more than that. Like we've consistently gotten bigger and bigger because we're consistent, and I believe because we're proud of the product that we create, and we love doing it. So another last thing that I'll talk about is making your content personalized. I think that we definitely do that with our audience questions, and I think that, you know, both our personalities, I think yours more than mine, especially on this podcast anyway, kind of like bleed into what we're saying for the most part. Is like we're very real when it comes to like our opinions, and like, yes, we are respectful of others and try to be as mindful of a lot of things, but like we say dumb shit because we're just being who we are. And I think like if you were trying to put on a persona that doesn't fit with who you want to be, or you're not trying to like give your content personality, it's the same. Because here's the thing, a lot of these podcasts, especially when you're in the video games industry, I think we're a little bit different because we are indie games, but there's still a lot of consistency across every podcast that you listen to. Most people are talking about the same thing. And so what's the difference that like, why are you going to listen to one news story versus the other? It's generally the people, right? You care about the person who's telling you that story because you want to hear their opinion, or you just want to hear it from their like
just from them saying it. So it's having, and it's not about having like a cat, like you don't have to be like a Greg Miller or like a, you know, he's wacky over the top, like he's, you know, exciting kind of, like it doesn't have to be that, like that's not what I'm trying to say, but you have to have your own kind of brand or your own kind of identity to say, you know, this is who I am, and if people like that, like come hang out with us, right? Like I think that's kind of what it's all about. And to back up, I wasn't saying anything bad about Greg Miller. I really like the guy, but just like you don't have to, like he is very much a ball of excitement, right? Whereas I think some people might not be as like, you don't have to scream at the top of your lungs every time just to be like popular.
Yeah, you don't have to be pure, unadulterated enthusiasm. Instead, just be yourself, be honest with yourself and with your audience, and people will flock to you because however much like this sounds insulting in a way, but I actually find it kind of like very, very nice and very heartwarming, is that like, however much we like to believe that we are individuals and that we are special, we're really not. Like there were a lot of people just like us. And I find that so heartwarming, is that we have found our own little niche in this community of people that have very similar like comedic stylings to us, that like similar games as us. And I love that so much. So I feel like if you were just honest about the person that you are and you put that out into the world, you will find success. And for sure. I 100%, I feel like Josh has said some really great things on this one.
Thanks.
So we're just going to move on
also,
to the Mom Dad Ebbers question.
We're still a baby podcast. Like I wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't.
We have found the smallest amount of success possible. Like that's really it. Like the fact that like, this is why we talk about, and I want this to never change, but why we are so blown away that anyone will give us any amount of money is that like, we're still bottom tier. Yeah, we're a baby podcast. We have found like just the tiniest bit of success. But once again, if you put out something that you're proud of and that you love doing, doesn't matter if people are listening. That's what I've said like several times when Josh has brought up like the end of the podcast or whatever. As long as Josh will do this with me, I will do this regardless. Like it doesn't matter if there are views, because I am proud of what we make and I love it. So that's all you really got to do. That's how you keep chugging. You just got to love what you're doing. You got to be proud of it. You got to make something to be proud of.
Keep chugging.
So moving on to Philip Renshaw's question. He writes in and says, "Hey, Josh, given your bitching about the length of the show in recent weeks, how long would the show length ideally be for you?" I love that he just calls you out. You're bitching. You're being a baby back, dude.
I know, dude. I love it. And I think it's funny because I think Phil is one of the few people who probably is like, fuck yeah, like a 2-hour episode, like let's go. I think ideally this is like the length, an hour and a half. What we're at like kind of right now is like what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to shave the entire thing. All right. But I want like a nice, like a 90-minute, you know, a nice movie. That's what we're looking for. A nice film, a cinema version of Indie Pod each week. Not this just backpacking adventure. You know what I mean?
All right. There you go. I don't care about the length. I really like, I don't mind. It could be long, it could be short, it can be whatever. Like however long it takes us to get through this and to have fun, I really don't care.
Are you
like
saying
it's not bad?
Are you saying that size doesn't matter?
I am, dude. It's all about the motion of the ocean.
Hell
you know what I mean?
Baby.
And Zach writes in and says, "What is your favorite breakfast food?" Mine is either chicken and waffles or biscuits and gravy. I've also seen good. Like in our Discord, this actually sparked up a bunch of like actual Discords where it was like, yeah, Monte Cristo. What the fuck is that?
Dude, look that up right now. Look that up because it is a heart attack.
I feel it's like a sandwich, right?
Yeah, it's a heart attack. It is a very unhealthy sandwich. It's pretty good. I've had one before. They're extremely unhealthy.
What is this fucking sandwich, dude? What is this sandwich? What is on this? So you got like bread. I'm thinking some eggs and cheese. You got like ham. Or is that bacon? That looks like a delicious ass fucking sandwich.
I think it should be like big, thick slices of ham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's super thick. That's why I thought it might have been bacon. Them really thick pieces of bacon. Dang, Monte Cristos look delish.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
And they've got like that perfectly charred bit on the bread, so it's kind of like a grilled cheese.
They're good.
What?
But they are extremely unhealthy. I think that
who gives a shit?
Yeah,
Everybody's gonna die someday.
Oh, I don't know.
Enjoy your life.
About that one. I think that the chicken and waffles and biscuits and gravy are both great options. I specifically will change it a little bit. I'll still use biscuits, but it's a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. I love, or a sausage, egg, and cheese like bagel, or like on Shabbat, like just sausage, egg, cheese, all in a sandwich. I fucking love it, dude. It's so good. It's one of my favorite things to wake up to.
Okay, so I've been meaning to ask you this for a while, which sounds weird considering how mundane this is. Do you ever get like McDonald's breakfast food?
Not anymore. I haven't had that in a long ass time, but I used to a lot when I was a kid.
Okay. Well, asking this, like, I guess from when you were a kid, do you like the egg? Do you get like the egg on your sandwich? When you did, were you like, I want that fucking whatever, like
the fucking like
I forget what
microwave styrofoam looking egg.
Yeah,
like,
the McMuffin like egg thing. Do you like that?
I used to get it on because I loved the sausage, egg, and cheese bagel from McDonald's because it had like this weird greasy taste to it. Like it's so unhealthy for you. It's like so bad, but it was just so
I don't think
good.
I've ever even fucking seen that.
Oh, so good.
Like I'm also the person who's never seen a McRib. People talk about it. I've never even seen a McRib. I know that it exists.
They're good.
Have no idea.
They're pretty good. But no, I don't. I generally like. I honestly like. I'm not the biggest egg fan. In like, for
just in general.
Yeah, like in general. But like,
got a weird texture.
It also I'm very weird.
I don't like the sound it makes when my teeth goes through it.
That
like it's like
weird.
a squeaking sound.
That's funny. That's not my reasoning. I feel like, and I think there's a lot of truth to this, but like smell is a big proponent to taste, and I feel like eggs smell like garbage. And so it's really that, like half the time it's just because it smells so bad that I'm just like, no, but I'll still eat it all the time on like sandwiches that are mixed with stuff. But like, if you're just like, here's some eggs, I'd be like, fuck off with that. Like, we're not just going to do that. You like fucking put that in a wrap or something. Like we're not doing this just without anything. Not raw dog and no eggs, you know?
All right. Okay. So for me, my favorite breakfast food is a scramble. I love scrambles so much, but it would be like, so I got to have, you got your hash browns, the nice thin cut hash browns.
Yeah.
I don't want those like,
you don't like those
people
cubes?
get those chonky ass potatoes and shit. Nah, I'm not.
You got those cubes,
it's just
boy?
like thin cut hash browns, nice and like charred. They're good and crispy. Then you got to have like a nice cheddar cheese on top.
Okay.
Get some chorizo, some bacon, just maybe some normal sausage in there too. I understand chorizo is like a spicy sausage, but put that little bit normal sausage in there too. And then take your bread, your nice toast, some wheat toast, whole wheat. Ooh, just slather that. You take it all, you mix it all together, then you put that on your toast. You just take a bite.
Are you a big diner fan? I feel like
so good.
I feel like you would love diners.
I do like diners, yeah. Yeah. I like them. There's like when we lived in our apartment, we were like right around the corner from a place called like, I want to say it's got something to do with a mama. It's a weird like everyone says Joe Mama, but that's not it. It's like, I forget what it's called, but it's this really great breakfast place. We really loved it. And it had like a comic store right next to it called the Collector's Outpost, where like while you were waiting for a table, you just go in there, you check out some comics. You don't buy anything.
Of course.
Which sucks.
Yeah. But you're a piece of
I
shit.
I bought some trades every now and then. The only thing it sucked was like I would go in there and I would like, oh, I want to look for this specific trade. They would never have what I was looking for. And then they'd be like, oh, we can order it for you. It'll just take 3 weeks. And I'm like, I could buy it on Amazon. It'll be here tomorrow, dude.
Hot damn.
Like, I'm
struggle.
sorry,
The
but
mom and pop struggle.
But then I'll just be like, okay, I'll go to Captain Comics a little bit down the way. I'll still give it to a local business, but I'll get it day one. You know what I mean?
That's a struggle.
Plus, I still have a fucking Captain Comics like credit that I haven't used because I've gone there like 3 times. They haven't had any of the books I want. Maybe I'll go after this.
Oh, see?
No, fuck. I think they're closed on Sundays.
Oh,
Fuck
damn.
me.
I was going to say, that's why we did the podcast early, so you could get a jump start on all these Captain Comic duties that you have. You know what? You brought this weird memory.
I might go to breakfast, though.
I mean, get that
Just
fucking
saying.
Scramble.
It's like noon. I'm going to go get me a scramble.
that mama's thing brought in like a weird memory. I had a class where I had to do web design stuff. It was like a multimedia class, and I had to do web design. This was in high school, and I made this like it was like create your own company and create a website for them. And I created this like kind of like Olive Garden knockoff, but I called it Mama's Pasta. And I started doing like just grabbing like random pasta dishes and doing prices and all that. But I made like a fucking dumbass video for it where it was me and a bunch of friends and I was Mama from Mama's Pasta, and I used my best like Adam Sandler voice, and it was me like in a kitchen, and I was like literally grilling it's so fucking stupid, a bag of bread that was still in the bag but on the pan, and I was like, welcome to Mama's Pasta, and it was like this whole big thing. I really wish I could find that video, but I don't know, just hearing the mama thing made me think about that. I did so many dumb things in high school.
All right, so I think that roughly. Okay, last thing. Do you like chicken and waffles?
Yeah, dude. You don't like chicken waffles?
I mean, I have friends that like them. I'm just not like a big fan of like mixing the two, and the chicken is never like my preferred chicken. You know what I mean? There's never like a nice little chicky strip on there. It's always like
do that?
a fucking chicken leg.
There's places that'll do it. You get really good fluffy waffles. You get nice chicken strips. You then put maple syrup on it, and then you do like a spicy like sriracha sauce or something, and like kind of like I have this like coconut.
Are you saying you mix them together? Because I'll punch you through the
yeah, dude.
I'll slap the shit out of you.
Spicy
what?
And sweet and crunchy.
No.
Yes, dude. It's so good. Fuck you.
This like waffle chicken sandwich, you can eat a dick. No.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just not a fan of like the sweet and the savory. Like only in very specific moments do I enjoy that. Otherwise, it's like I want salty or I want sweet. I don't want them both. Dude, you know.
But then
you got like the chocolate covered pretzels, and it's like
what? You don't like chocolate covered pretzels?
I mean? No, I said that's like that's one of the gaps. That's the scenario in which it's totally fine to have the salty and the sweet.
We're gonna have to really end the podcast.
No, dude. Okay. Preferred chocolate covered pretzel, like white chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, really?
Hell yes.
You're like the only person I've ever heard that actually enjoys dark chocolate. It's basically like eating baking chocolate. It's just bitter.
Dark chocolate's good. You mix that shit with stuff. Oh man, dark chocolate and fucking pretzels, so good.
I like that white chocolate, dude.
I bet you do.
I like it. It's good stuff. Yeah, I bet you do. I don't know why, but for some reason that just made me think of like a race thing where you're like, fucking white boy.
That's fucking what that's the way I said it. It doesn't mean anything.
You're like, that's what I meant.
That's what I meant. Actually, you racist fuck.
So that is the end of this episode. We're just gonna end it on a high note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thanks everybody so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside of the show, be sure to follow us at IndiePod, of course, for notifications of when our episodes go live, what games we've been checking out, the like new deals and quick steals that you obviously can't listen to on the show because they end like a day before, which is always super annoying.
The struggle.
All of that. Be sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter. You can follow me, Vaughn, at Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION for all of my, I guess, dumbass takes and a bunch of other stuff. I'll be Twitch streaming soon.
Ooh.
New World's coming out. The New World beta, by the time this is live for everybody, the New World beta, like open beta, will be out, and I'm going to try to stream it. I'm just going to do like a test stream to see if I enjoy playing the game on stream and if like my PC can handle it, because I'm one of those people, you know, who does not have the money for 2 PCs and can't do that. So, you know, just going to do it that way. But that is over on twitch.tv/Hyde Legion. Going to be doing some streams soon. Again, I'm thinking that I might do my stream schedule like a Tuesday, Friday type of a thing. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do because got some different stuff, but it'll be interesting. You can check out Josh at _George90 over on Twitter or over on Twitch at twitch.tv/the_George. If he decides to Twitch stream
if I ever pick it back up. I don't know, man. I keep going back and forth on it because there's like a part of me that's like, I enjoyed it. And there's another part of me that's like, I don't give a shit enough. Like, yeah, I really think what I'd rather do is just creating like random Let's Plays or things if I was going to do that, but we'll see. One day.
I like the interactive element of Twitch streaming. That was always the thing I found so much fun, was just like answering people's questions on the fly instead of like having time to prepare or anything like that. And,
For sure.
and what kind of conversations ensue because of it, like the whole boneless wings or fucking chicken nuggets thing, and how for some reason in my chat that fucking popped off. Or like, is a hot dog a sandwich? I'm so surprised that is still an argument.
Yeah. I mean,
and that people bring up like fucking, they're like, oh, this hot dog enthusiast said it's not a sandwich. And it's like, yeah, of course they would say it's not a sandwich. They fucking love hot dogs. Like, get over it. It's a fucking sandwich, dude. Like,
it's, I don't know. But so I agree with you. Like, there was days when I would stream and I'd be like, this was so much fun and it was great. But then I'd have other streams where it was like more kind of quiet and people didn't show up. And I'd be like,
you're basically just playing a game.
Yeah, you're basically just playing a game. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know that it's worth the highs for the lows, like for me, because it's like,
I could see that.
It's definitely like, this is a stupid thing to bitch about, but like it's definitely something where I look at it and I'm like, if I put in the work and I put in the consistency, like the same thing we talked about, right? Like I'll get that viewership who comes and the conversation will flow. And it's like, but I also know that before that it comes with
you
like,
might not enjoy it enough to slog through to get to that
point. And so I'm just like, I don't really care enough. And I also just don't feel like I personally have the ability to have that consistency. So it's just like, fuck it.
Checks out. I mean, that's why like I've been like, I'm looking forward to Twitch streaming, but also I'm like, I'm like, I have to find like these perfect days because I know that I have to do it on these days. So like, when can I actually find time for it? I was like, oh, Friday sounds like a good one, but I do D&D like once a month, maybe twice a month sometimes. Right. So maybe I'll move that. Like it's very weird. Twitch streaming is an interesting beast. But before we end, of course, got to go through the housekeeping one more time. Please check out that Mike Burnett, I believe, developer interview going live on Wednesday, the 8th of September. They are the CEO and artist at Shockwork Games, talking about their game Nadir. Please head over to our Teespring store over on, the IndiePod store over on Teespring for our t-shirts and stickers. Check out our YouTube channel, just IndiePod over on YouTube, to watch these videos. You know, all sorts of fun stuff. Check out the clips. Check out Josh's sweet reviews that he did back in the day. Speaking of reviews, please leave us reviews on any site in which you could do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out the most, getting in that algorithm, meeting new people, talking about indie games. It'll really help us spread the word of amazing indie games. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons, specifically at the $3 or higher, because, you know, we enjoy everybody. Give us any amount of money. We love you. Kiss you on the mouth one day. But, of course, got to do those $3 tiers and higher. So, Ethan, a gamer for fun. John, just John. We'll see Mixamatosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Rich, other one better for Australia, Josh Nichols, a.k.a. Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You are all so amazing. And we will talk to you next week. Goodbye.
Pew, pew, pew. Wow, I'm fucking blue.
Ah, shit. It's a blue boy. What's happening?
I'm back. Anyway, goodbye.